count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob
Two. Check two. Hello. Chatter there. Good job to you, Lodane. And thanks, Lodane, for 45 months. And even beyond 45 months. Even more than that. Even more months than that. All this time I thought his name was Grog. You're going to have some good old Grog to talk you through all this. As the saying goes, in 3 months, I think you owe me a custom wrapped Cybertruck and Rolex. A Lodane Cybertruck would be so great. A Lodane wrapped Cybertruck with with the ring loadout and the chains and everything, doing some kind of like a pose. I would drive that. That would be the only Cybertruck I would ever consider driving. Hey, Cosmopolitics, hello. Welcome, hello. What's going on with the Canadian Hoopers? I don't know, good question. I was watching I thought about just like postponing the stream until the game was over, but it's not going too well. They looked fantastic in the opening couple of rounds. They're looking a little jittery now. They're looking a little jittery, and France's length is really bothering them. Hello, Super. How's it going? I hope you're happy and healthy as well. France's length really, really bothering them. Difficult to play against Wembanyama. Still only down 10. Like a really, really terrible start. I just opened the game just now. Francis Length. That's right. This is the top player. France's top player. Francis Length, they call him. That would actually be a good name for Victor Wembanyama. Yeah, somehow they're only down 10. Like that. I don't know that because like they had a very rough start. They had a very rough start. Somehow only down 10. Maybe they can get something going in the second half. I don't know. If it gets close, I'll do my commentary thing again. How's everyone doing? I'm tired, as usual. You know, as usual. Not a new thing, but I had a pretty wild weekend. Your boy had a little bit of a wild weekend, folks. I don't have a lot of those anymore these days, right? You know, I'm 41. I don't have a lot of big Montreal weekends anymore. That's a young man's game. Okay? But, so Friday, after the stream, I was tripping. I was tripping from that energy drink. That Rain Total Body Fuel. I was absolutely blasted off that. Was genuinely... I had one of those moments, like, towards the end of the stream. Like, sometimes, I'll give you a little example of, like, the weird effects that it has to do this stream for, like, hours and hours and hours at a time. And, you know, I'm just like looking at myself in this little box, right? Like when you're on a Zoom call, you know, you kind of look at yourself. Like, don't lie, chat. Don't lie. I know you look at yourself on the Zoom call. Well, this stream is like a 3-4 hour Zoom call, and I'm just looking at myself in this little box the whole time. And then I absolutely downed that 300 milligram caffeine energy drink. I hit the Benjamin at the same time. I was talking all kinds of smack. Yeah, the weed didn't help, Lodane, but I think in combination with the huge amount of caffeine that I really like drank extremely quickly had a crazy effect. And yeah, I think sometimes it's like I'm just looking at the screen, I'm talking. You were cross-faded on rain, energy, and marijuana at 41. That's right, Super. That's exactly right. That's exactly correct. So it's like I'm sitting here, I'm talking, we're chatting, I'm streaming, and then sometimes I start like just like focusing on like the image on the screen, and then it becomes like Lodane is saying, I smoke a blunt to drink 2 rains and then do the show. I can't handle it, Lodane. I don't know. I can't handle it. And then then it's like I'm starting to watch something. Then it's like I'm watching the stream. I'm like, who's that? Who's that on the screen? Who's that? What's that guy up to? What's that guy saying? You know? And then I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, those words are coming out of my mouth right now. I'm not hearing this through like a speaker or headphones or anything like that. I'm hearing it because I'm actually the person speaking right now. Oh, okay. And then I have this realization while I'm in like mid-sentence. Is that a good boy? Oh boy. So it was not good. I don't know. This is just too much caffeine. This is just way too much caffeine, and I allowed myself to be peer pressured. I allowed myself to be peer pressured by the chat into blasting this fucking energy drink and combining it with weed, and I was done. I was donezo. It was absolutely outrageous. But then, so after the stream ended, I chilled outside for a little while. And then I went out to meet some people. I met some friends and some people connected to the independent media world out in Montreal on the plateau. You know, got some food and drank some wine, and then went to Casa del Popolo, and we were drinking for quite a while. So it was a pretty crazy night, but this was night 1 of my weekend marathon. Because I'm watching the basketball game at the same time. Somehow over the course of this evening, I was encouraged to purchase a ticket to Osheaga. I was encouraged to purchase a ticket to Osheaga. Last year I was able to go because I got like a press pass because Steve Sladkowski from PUP got me like a free pass. So I was like, oh, I'll go to that. And I kind of tried to email Osheaga this year, like, hey, can I get another free pass? I got like a Twitch stream. I got lots of stuff going on, and I wasn't able to do it. So I didn't think I was going to go. But in the heat of the moment, when the peer pressure turned on, I did end up, rough end of the quarter for Canada. I did end up purchasing a ticket to Osheaga Music Festival, and I went on Saturday to Osheaga. One of the hottest days of the year. Insanely hot. It was like humidex of 40. It was like humidex of 40 degrees or something, not a cloud in the sky.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based.
It was really like one of the hottest days that I can ever remember.
And I found this.
Left flank vets, thanks for the raid. Marcus, hello. Thank you for the raid, Marcus. I appreciate it. How is the left flank vets stream today? I'm just giving a little weekend update here. I was out doing stuff. I was out doing some stuff this weekend. What was up in the C-spam in this morning? Last day before the rebrand. What's the rebrand? The last Left Flank Vets raid ever. We love it. What's the rebrand going to be? That's exciting. I love that. It's a surprise. Cool. Right flank Vets. Oh, no. No. You were the chosen one. Hey, Regime Pilled, how's it going? The last LFV stream ever. That's very exciting. Live from the Capitol next January. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I'm honored, Marcus. I appreciate it. If this is Marcus, I'm assuming it's Marcus, but we never know. We never know. This is a shifty bunch over there. How am I? I'm just tired. I had a long weekend. I did a little partying this weekend, which I really just don't do very often. I really don't do it. You know, I'm kind of older now. I can't really handle it as much as I was talking earlier about how I was like, I was almost put on my ass just from drinking a regular strength American energy drink and hitting my Benjamin there on Friday. I was tripping balls from that. But so I went out on Friday. In the course of the evening, I purchased a ticket to Osheaga Music Festival in Montreal. Stop making fun of me, Lodane. Lodane's just here calling me a lightweight. Unbelievable, the kind of abuse that I have to put up with. Anyway, Osheaga was very cool, though. It was just extremely hot. Montreal is in Quebec. Yes, that's right. It was extremely hot. It was just, like, so fucking hot. I've, like, never been more hot in my life. I don't know if I've ever sweat so much in my life. And it's not like I'm in the crowd, like, dancing or doing anything crazy. I was literally just sitting there, or standing sometimes, in the sun. And it was really, really bad. But a lot of the music was really cool. And as I mentioned on Twitter, I'm deeply, deeply Chappelle Roan pilled now. I had heard some of her music before. I had heard like "Good Luck Babe," I think on the radio or on TikTok or something. Like I'm not familiar with the whole phenomenon really. But she was fantastic. Her band was really good. The songs are incredible. The hooks are incredible. The costumes, the whole presentation. It's really right up my alley music-wise, like that kind of like early 80s style pop music, you know? I love that stuff. And this is right directly into that wheelhouse, like perfectly. And it was just really good stuff. Who else did I see? Because then there was kind of an extended break after that because it was just like so hot. It was just so ridiculously hot that I kind of took like an extended break. Who is it? Renee Rapp is the other kind of pop artist I saw. She was very talented, but didn't quite connect with me to the same extent. Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And then later on in the evening, it was Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day were the co-headliners, which is like obviously with the age I am now, that was pretty cool. Smashing Pumpkins were very good. Green Day now are just like such pros. I've never seen them before. Like I don't know if I would count myself as a huge Green Day fan now, but like when I was 12, 13 years old, Green Day Dookie was like that like exploded on my elementary school like a fucking bomb, you know? And like so it was really cool. They played like that album's 30 years old now. It's 30 years old. They played like a bunch of the songs from Dookie. You know, all the, yeah, I think it was my first CD ever as well, Marin. The Pumpkins played in 1979 in the honor of Rob's year of birth. Okay, that's not my year of birth. And even if it was, that would be fine. I was actually I took a brief bathroom break and I missed the Pumpkins playing 1979, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. So I had a little bit of regret about that. I could I heard it. I kind of saw it from a distance, but I was not actually watching at that point. So I was a little frustrated about that. I'm 83. I am 83. That's the second album I ever bought. Yeah. So yeah, but they played a bunch of songs from Dookie, you know, like all the hits and like a couple of other the non-singles. It was really good. I mean, they're absolute pros. Like they've just been doing these shows for so long. You know what? If I have one complaint about Green Day, their live show, because it was very energetic, very good. There was a little bit too much of the "Ayo," the crowd thing. It was like, do we need to? Let's have 2 or 3, maybe 2 of those in a set. I don't need to hear every song doing the crowd back and forth singing thing. That was my like old man yelling at cloud moment. You know, just we don't need to do this. You know what I mean? We don't need to do it. That was it though. And then I even because I'm being that crazy, I went out to like an after thing after Oshiaga, and I went to like a electronic like ravey thing for a couple hours as well. That's how outrageous I was getting this weekend, chat. And I got home quite late, and I'm still just not recovered at all from it. I am still not recovered whatsoever. I'm very sleepy still. I think it's going to take me about 2 weeks to fully recover from this. This like mild two evenings of like drinking some alcohol and carrying on a little bit. But it was fun. It was a fun weekend. I had a nice weekend. Thanks for asking. Any other weekend news, chat? What did you get up to? Don't let me monopolize this, okay? Just because it's my initials on the show. I'm gonna have to get a beverage. I thought I had a Diet Coke right next to me, and I do not. I played Fallout London all long weekend. That sounds nice. I pined for Elden Ring, but my PS5 is broken. How'd your PS5 break? That's not cool. What's going on with that? I made some beats. Nice. Love making beats. Baby, do you like this beat? I've just been sitting here for 4 days. Well, that sounds fun too. That sounds fun too, though, Dan. I'm not opposed to sitting there. Doing some good sitting. You sitting me? Not sure, won't turn on, got a repair set up. That's very frustrating. I'm sorry to hear that. I stared at a wall for 5 days until Rob's stream started. Well, that's how I like my chatters to be. I appreciate that. That's how I want people to be. That's how you do it. That's how you do it, Chad. Any other news? We got plenty of stuff to dive into. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, and on whenever it was the last day I streamed, Friday, yes, did not talk a lot about a serious business. Was not a lot of serious discussion going on Friday. Very little. I killed a man with a trident. That's good. In personal news, I ordered a Steam Deck. Marin, while you bring up that line, that Will Ferrell, Pierce Brosnan SNL line, I saw it randomly. One of the very best Will Ferrell SNL sketches, which I don't know if you've seen, which is the Neil Diamond behind the music. Oh, Steve Carell? I thought you were talking about the SNL with Will Ferrell and Pierce Brosnan. I guess, is there a trident in Anchorman or something? But the Will Ferrell, Neil Diamond behind the music sketch is like, I remember watching that, and I think I had it on like cassette tape. I think I taped it off TV in the 90s, and it's like, or the late 90s, whenever it was. And fuck, it's so funny. Neil Diamond gets increasingly unhinged telling the stories behind his music. His dark record of murder and assault and racism. What are we doing today? Oh boy. We're doing pirate talk now. We're doing pirate talk over here. Well, we're just kind of hanging out a little bit, and I think I want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the UK right now, because I think we should all be very alarmed at these like psychotic right-wing race riots that we're seeing in the UK. And I think I have a really kind of like ugly feeling that this is kind of a canary in the coal mine kind of situation, with the way that anti-immigrant sentiment, not just in the UK, but like all throughout Europe, Canada, the United States, the way that anti-immigrant sentiment has been kind of percolating. And now we're seeing it being expressed in this like really horrifying spasm of violence. So I would like to talk a little bit about that and like what that means for the Western society, you know? And there's plenty more stuff to get into. We can talk a little bit about the Tim Walz pick, although I'll probably talk a little bit about that on the podcast tonight with Jordan, so maybe keep some of my takes about that for there. But plenty of stuff to get into. There's no shortage of stuff to get into. Before I do any of that, though, chat, Canadian hogs are very excited about the UK riots. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, we'll get into it soon. I'm just going to get a drink so I can get a little bit of caffeine here going and maybe get my brain up to like a sort of semi-functional level. But yeah, I think if you've noticed the way that the climate has gone in Canada over the last like 6 years, it's hard not to look at that footage and not feel a kind of sense of impending dread. But we'll get to that, okay? Just vibe out to the chair for 1 sec, and I'll be right back. I'm also just going to quickly use the bathroom. Lodane, you're just ruthless right now. You're just being absolutely ruthless. What have I done to deserve this kind of thing? What have I done to deserve this slamming that's going on? This slamming. The ritualistic slamming in the chat. Unbelievable. I'm pretending he doesn't know what he did. Proper nouns. So what's our favorite Chapel Roan song? I think I said Chappelle earlier, but is it Chapel? Is it Chapel Roan? What's our favorite Chapel Roan song, chat? I'm really into Hot to Go. Love that one. Really like Casual as well. Very good ballad. Casual. Really like that. Both of those were very good live too. It was just so surreal. Pink Pony Club is really good also. That's really good. And of course, Good Luck Babe. Very good. And there's a couple of other really good ones as well. Naked in Manhattan is good. I don't love the entire album. It's definitely worth the listen. I don't love every song to the same extent, but I think that's my mark for like what I consider to be like a really good album. If you've got like 5 bangers, then it's like that's pretty good. That's a good ratio. And there's at least 5 legitimate bangers on there. Yeah, that's right, Red Wizard. Yeah, you've probably heard the music. And it was just so surreal. It was a really good performance. Like, I really liked the band, the costumes, the presentation, and everything. And then we're just watching it with the blazing sun, just absolutely obliterating everything. Good old Rob to talk. Don't know how I didn't die. There was times watching this concert, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it here. It's brutal. Mask loves you. Thanks very much for the 9 months. Appreciate it. Gosh, I was just really very sweaty, chat. I was really quite sweaty at this concert. It was pretty outrageous, but I was happy that I went, you know? I talked a little bit about getting like convinced or talked into going, but like I was happy that I did it. It was cool. It was a cool, spontaneous thing. I don't do a lot of cool, fun, spontaneous things. I'm pretty boring. I spend a lot of time just like parenting and watching movies and playing video games and cooking, and I love all that stuff. I love to do it. But it's nice to have a little spontaneous, fun type situation. You know, it was cool, and I really enjoyed it. It feels like the heat has broken a little bit, too. So it's not quite as oppressive. It was just so bad. Gosh. So much grass I have not touched. Oh, man. So I'm watching the Canada game. They're down 16. I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible to come back here, but they got to get some stops and start making some plays, and another big turnover there. Got to give the ball to Gilgeous-Alexander and let him go to work. Yes, it's basketball. Yes. They have come back from deficits like this before. I mean, even that game to get into the tournament, right? Kijiji was like a big comeback. I think was that against Spain? It's just the classic cliche. There we go. Is that RJ Barrett? I think RJ Barrett just hit a nice lefty floater and won. It's the old cliche. You just got to get it down to 10. Get it down to 10 by the end of the quarter. And you might be able to do something. Drippy shits, ye of little faith. Okay, this is a good team. We got some guys on this team. We got some gamers, okay? It was a rough start. It hasn't been great, I admit, but it's not over yet, all right? We got some guys. We got some players. So I don't know what else to get you caught up on. Is there anything else? I don't know if there's anything else to talk about, really. This is the season finale of the Dragon show. The Dragon stuff. That was pretty good. I was a little let down with the finale. I think this season was pretty good. I was a little let down with the finale. It's all just like, and it's not even that it was a bad episode, but I didn't think it functioned great as a finale. It was really just like moving all the chess pieces into place for next season, you know? But it's like it was a little bit of a letdown. I thought the finale was a shit show, but I'm a GRRM fan, so I'll keep watching that garbage. I didn't hate the episode at all. I just didn't know if it worked that well as a season finale. I was expecting, I think, maybe a little bit more fireworks. Admiral Prax says, where are you on Winds of Winter? What do you think about Winds of Winter? Are we going to see it? Is it going to come out? I still think it's going to. I think it's going to come out. I think he's going to do it. I think this crazy bastard's going to do it. Everyone I saw with was pissed there was no fighting. Yeah, it just seemed kind of weird. It seemed a little weird. They haven't played one dominant game. All the wins were tight, and they almost choked the last game up to Spain. I mean, you're drippy shits. You're complaining a lot for a team that beat 3 good teams and has not lost so far in this tournament. Like, you know? Oh, the games were tight. Well, this is Olympic competition. You know, they're playing some good teams here. They won the games. Some of the allegory to modern politics is a bit heavy-handed, but I really do like the Dragon show. Yeah, I quite like it too. It like I've said before a couple times, I wasn't anticipating getting sucked back into the Dragon stuff. And I absolutely was. After about 3 episodes, I was just fully all the way on board. I've got the book too. Like I could, if I really wanted to, rather than waiting for the next season, which is going to be in a year and a half or something. I could look at the book and get the scoop on what happens. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I did once Game of Thrones got so outrageous. I was just like, okay, fuck it. I got to read all these books now. And I did. I read every single one of them. I was pretty excited to see a Dunk and Egg trailer. I hope they nail that show because those are my favorite stories in the Westeros universe. Yeah, I didn't read those ones. I would still kind of like to see a Robert's Rebellion series. I think that could be kind of cool. There's a lot of... I think telling that story would be kind of neat. I think reading the books, I think that it's interesting because like one of the most fascinating characters in the books is Rhaegar Targaryen, who's dead by the time the first book starts. But there's so much little lore drops about Rhaegar Targaryen. It would be cool to finally see him in action. Need a little more space, says Duke Vulture. Well, I guess that makes sense too. Well, that's the thing, because it's covered in Game of Thrones, but I think you get a specific version of events, and I think doing a series of Robert Civilian that kind of subverts some of what you've come to think could be kind of interesting. Seeing Aegon's conquest and all these poor Westerosi bastards seeing a dragon for the first time could be interesting. Yeah, that could be fun. Yeah, I think that, but like, then we're talking about a lot of different series. How many of these series are they going to do? SGA just about to cut it to 10. Plenty of time left. Plenty of time left, chat. I should do the mirror thing. I don't even... Actually, I do have a mirror, but I don't know where I would put it. If I did the mirror trick with the Olympic basketball so the stream doesn't get taken down, that'd be fun. I've been binging Nathan Fielder's The Curse lately. It's amazing. Not familiar with it. Not familiar with it. Is that something I should check out? Canada gets a stop. Down 10. Bucket. SGA. Down 8. Down 8 with tons of time left. Look at that. Well, Dan, I'm watching the Olympics, okay? I'm watching the Olympics. We can chat and hang out, and I can watch the Olympics while during the sort of chit-chat era of the show, the allotted chit-chat time, and then I can move on to talk about serious business. No, says Lodane. Lodane says no to that. You got to cheer for the boys. Like I've been saying, you know, a lot about the Olympics, awful. Nationalism, awful. Canada, awful. Couldn't agree more. But the boys have worked very hard. The boys have worked very hard to get here. To the first Olympics in many years for Canada. It's nice to have Canada, as a basketball fan, to have Canada be one of the more formidable teams in the tournament. It's something that's very kind of new. You know, it's not Steve Nash and a bunch of like D2 guys. These are all like starter and rotation caliber NBA players and a perennial now MVP candidate. Lou Dort will never forgive me. Montreal excellence, I believe, right? Lou Dort, Montreal excellence. Let's go, boys. Isn't that like... So that's like a... I don't know if that's what you're doing, Red Wizard, but isn't that like a Like a PEI thing? Hey, buddy. Is it the East Coast? Is it just PEI? Are there any hey, buddy sayers in the chat? Is that just PEI, or is that other parts of the East Coast? Throwing shade at Bill Wennington. Bill Wennington had a pretty nice little mid-range jumper. I live in NB and don't know a by. Well, I think it's just a PEI thing. I don't know. I like it though. But people definitely call each other Bud 24/7. I sometimes call people Bud. As I've talked about before, I call my son Buddy. Like, that's most of the time. That's most of the time how I refer to him. Buddy or pal. It's nice when you call your friend Buddy, though. I feel like it's like a nice moment for someone, you know? When you have a friend and you're not really sure like how close you are, maybe, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" And it's like, "Nothing's up. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Not much." It gets confusing when you call both your sons Buddy, though. Hey, friendo. Yeah, Buddy. Get over here. The other one. Buddy 2. Buddy 1 and Buddy 2. When Canadian says, "Hey, buddy," it's nice. In America, it sounds shitty. I guess it really depends on the inflection, too, because it's like, "Okay, buddy." You know what I mean? Then it can be really bad. Then it can be really like almost like a fight challenge. "Okay, buddy." You know what I mean? Sometimes when I'm like fighting or wrestling with my son, I do that kind of thing. I'm like, "Hey, buddy, come here, buddy." Like that. There's all kinds of different ways you can say it. Meets his child? No. We just have little wrestling matches. You know? He likes it. He likes it. He thinks it's cool. That time with the chair. That time with the chair just went too far. He thought he had won. But then I came from behind. Jamal Murray. Oh. Okay, Brexit. Okay. I just pile drive my kids into submission. We all laugh and cry. My favorite move is the cross face chicken wing. I think that's a good one. That's one of my favorite wrestling holds. Canada had cut it to 7. France just pushes it back to 11. A minute left in the third. Still a whole quarter to play. And then we can talk about some serious business. Okay? Lots of serious stuff going on. I think sometimes people tune into this program and they want to see some serious discussion. And just sometimes I just don't give it to you, you know? You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You could never put a chicken wing across my face. I would eat it.
Thank you, Moist Outlets, for 41 months of tier 1. I appreciate it. What do you, Moist Outlets, what are you, a flat or a drum? Flat or drum? I've become big time. I've gotten really into the flats. Yeah. I never really got the idea of like why flats are good, but now I'm just like, that's all I want now. Give me those flats. You wanted to trigger me with the Olympics, and now Hey Duke is my new BFF. We're going to listen to some rap you'd never heard of while we drink 300 milligrams of caffeine and smoke blunts. Good, I'm glad. I'm glad that you're going to do that. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, we're talking about chicken, Baldwin. That's right. Good, I'm glad you're glad. Yeah, okay, buddy. Okay. Sure thing, Chief. I have no idea what flats are. Well, Baldo, it's just like you have a chicken wing, you have the little drumstick or the other part, which is the flat. And I always thought it was tricky, but if you there's this little trick you can do where you take one of the bones and you give it this little twist and pull it out, and then it's just, you know? It's great stuff. Save that for OF. Once upon a time, I will remind you that if there wasn't actually a market for that, then we would think about it. But I don't think there is one, though, unfortunately, for me. The whole wing with both parts still attached is the supreme way. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I need a bucket here. If you'll excuse me just one moment. Oh. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get it to go. No problem. No problem. Whole quarter left to play. I'm at a Kamala commercial right now. I mean, it seems like they've made the correct call with the VP pick, Tim Walz. It seems like. Will it make a difference? I don't know. It's possible. Mr. Gorbachev hit these Tim Walz. Peacock keeps cutting into the action with commercials. Should have picked The Rock. That would have been an interesting choice. Sneaky, smoky, citrusy pain. Maybe I should become one of those hot pepper guys. Maybe I should torture myself with spicy food for your enjoyment. They managed to not shoot themselves in the foot with Shapiro, a special moment for the Democrat Party. I mean, that's the thing. The bar is just in the floor. And obviously there's just no non-genocide, non-money to police, non-imperialist option, as we understand. But it's like you had a really bad option on the table and one that seemed like kind of okay, and they went with the okay thing. So it's like that's kind of exciting for them, you know? A C-SPAN killer called it the Stalin Fidel ticket. It's really funny being like intimidated by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I think it's very funny to think that's like a scary, like a radical ticket. I think one, like it really does pass a kind of like, I don't know if you'd call this the eyeball test or whatever, but like you put Donald Trump and JD Vance and Kamala and Tim Walz in just like a room with like some average, like normal people. And who's going to come across as more like normal and like charming and like who's going to get people on board? Is it going to be Donald Trump and JD Vance? I don't think so. I think that's one thing that's like a kind of like, yeah, just a sort of basic litmus test. A basic litmus test. Even just if you take JD Vance and Walz together, it's just like no fucking comparison. And Walz is probably going to be pretty popular. He's like a former high school football coach. I'm not weird. I say as I compare Kamala Harris to Paul Pot. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, the Heritage Foundation leftover people absolutely pissed. I mean, all the worst people imaginable are mad about it, so it's a good sign that they finally did something right. You know? Trump's really fallen off. Well, we've got to look at some of the footage of him with that fucking what I don't even know these streamer guys, these like Zoomer streamer guys. Aiden Ross. I just don't know who any of these fucking people are. Trump will lose because of Vance. I'm calling it he's too proud to ditch him. I don't know. I think Trump could fire Vance. I think that'd be hilarious, though. I think that'd be so funny. In fact, I really hope that does happen. Please look up at the video of Aiden trying to learn what a fascist is. Okay, I have seen that video. I have seen that. America's best and brightest Zoomers are really just crushing it. And XQZ as well. What are these fucking Quebec people butting into U.S. elections over? That's what I want to know. You got Quebecers weighing in on the United States presidential election. What's going on with that? They don't even live here. They don't even live there. Quebec off from our elections. Seriously. Fucking follow your own stuff. And like the whole caveat with like Walz and Minnesota, like I said, there's no non-law and order party in the United States. There's no non-Gaza genocide party. So like that's just the reality of it. That's just the reality of it. And if the Democratic Party supporting and aiding, abetting a genocide happening is a red line from you, I totally understand that viewpoint. And I'm sure it would be for most people in this chat. Like, we can talk about this, we can analyze this, but like, let's acknowledge that there's really no difference when it comes to Gaza, except this like new tone, maybe if you could call it that, which is purely rhetoric. Which is based in promoting a totally bullshit, phony ceasefire idea that's not even a real ceasefire. It's literally their ceasefire deal that they're pursuing is just a Palestine immediately unconditionally surrender, which is not what a ceasefire is supposed to be. While the U.S. makes all kinds of demands about who is allowed to and participate in the reconstruction and governance of Gaza after the war is over. You know, it's completely fake, this entire ceasefire thing. And there's no difference on the border either. Like, let's get all this shit out of the way. You know, there's no difference on imperialism. There's no difference on Israel. And there's certainly no difference on the border, where they're trying to run to Trump's right on the border. The thing that was like the animating factor for so many people, for so many liberals. They're like mocking Trump for like not supporting their right-wing border legislation now. It's just absolutely insane. I think when you look at like what Democrats in Minnesota have done, though, that's, I think, like how we expect the liberals to at least participate in this electoral politics system, though, where they get these slim majorities. They get slim majorities and they rammed through a bunch of really quite popular economic populist legislation. So I think there are some kind of like domestic bona fides that I think someone like Walz can kind of like point to. Gaza is absolutely a red line. I prefer to fight maggots in the streets than throw Palestinians on the bus. Yeah, I mean, like, this is something I've been thinking about a lot too. It's just like there's this idea that like, oh, I would rather fight Kamala Harris. I would rather when as soon as they win on day one, we're going to start protesting Kamala Harris. But it's like, I'm sorry to say, that doesn't work. Like, there's been protests for 10 months under Joe Biden, and they have not worked. They have not made one iota of difference. You know, Biden has called these protesters basically like anti-Semites and Nazis. Kamala's done nothing at all. And I'm pretty sure Walz's statements about the protesters in Minnesota as well were not great either. So it's just like, I love the passion. We're going to start protesting on day one on the Kamala Harris administration. But it's like, okay, this idea that like they're more amenable to this kind of pressure, I don't think there's a lot of evidence to actually back that up. You know, this idea that like, oh, we can protest them and they're going to listen, but will they listen though? I don't really think they will. Yeah, of course we remember the Iraq War protests. And what do we think if Democrats were in charge in 2003, 2004, they would have looked at all those protests and been like, oh, well, you know what? Let's not do the Iraq War, actually. You know what? We've changed our minds. We've changed our minds. We see all these protests. You know, we love the passion. We were really looking forward to doing this war, but now we're not going to. Like, of course they would not have done that. You know? We love Saddam now. That's right. We just love Saddam. I will show you one thing that I saw that I found kind of interesting. You know? I think we got to talk a little bit about like this Elon Musk is like suing advertisers for not advertising on Twitter.com. Which I'm sure that's going to be a real slam dunk case. He starts suing. You must be legally obligated to advertise on this platform. Like, I don't think that's how that works. Like, he's out there doing like full on like Nazi race science. The owner of the website. Please, McDonald's, come back. We're going to sue you until you come back. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, sir. Yeah, he lost custody and he's spiraling. A family court is doing a number on him. Yeah, his daughter's been absolutely annihilating him lately. Wasn't it just an embarrassing person? Anyway, this is kind of interesting, and I'm sure the Trump people are going to freak out about this. And this is interesting because this looks like it's supposed to be like Trump Oppo. It's the Trump war room sharing this, but probably a lot of their own most passionate supporters are not going to be on board with this. This is kind of interesting. We talk about China a lot on the stream, as you know. the new Cold War, this kind of stuff. I've talked a lot about my feelings about China and this kind of this antagonistic relationship that our ruling class is demanding that we pursue. Here's Tim Walz on China. Check this out.
We've been focusing on, and I lived in China, and as I said, I've been there about 30 times, but if someone tells you they're an expert on China, they're probably not telling you the truth, because it's a complex country, but it's critically important for us. I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship. I totally disagree. We've been focusing on.
That's something, that's something. Is he going to still have this attitude when the psychos in the national security state try to start World War III over Taiwan? Well, I don't know, but it's kind of refreshing. Midwest dengism, that's right. Yeah, we love it. We love the Midwest dengism. Again, it's extremely low bar whenever we talk about this. It's an extremely low bar. But that's something I saw that's kind of encouraging. Yeah, he did a teaching stint. And it's funny, as much as they're trying to paint him as this kind of like radical, and they're just going to like end up running against like giving school lunches to little kids. Okay, this is kind of funny. I think this is meant as like a burn, but Johnny Maga says Midwest Mao. I wish this was real. Imagine if he was Midwest Mao. They started doing Revolutionary People's War in Minnesota. Can I ask you a personal question? How did you end up Rob and not Bob? I don't know. My name's Robert. You can't call a little kid Bob. You know what I mean? You can't call like a little 4, 5, 6-year-old kid Bob. It doesn't work. Like, to be Bob, you need to be like at least 50, and you got to wear like the khaki shorts with the long pulled up black socks, doing the lawn. Not even doing the lawn, but watering the driveway. You start with Bobby and then Bob. Well, I guess that makes sense. Watering the driveway. I feel the same with Rob. Were you Rob at like 3? No, I was always Robert when I was a little kid, but somehow during school, it became Rob. I don't actually really know how that works. How that happened. I think my mom was actually not that excited about it. I think they didn't want that, but somehow during elementary school, that shift just kind of happened. Native Minnesotan, hilarious to see the right in Minnesota going nuts over this news. Well, this is kind of what I'm talking about. And like, they're going to try and paint this guy as being some kind of like radical extremist. And he's just this Midwest like football coach guy. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, look at this. Like, again, whether you like this or not, whether you like the Democrats or not, like, this does, like, think about the shit that J.D. Vance says. We should ban all condoms, ban birth control, ban whatever. Like, let's have a nonstop 24/7 GoPro over every American's genitals. Like, that's what he's saying. And then you have Tim Walz, and this is how he talks.
Geography teacher.
Mankato West High School?
That's correct.
Is that right? You were also...
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to add, because I hope you were going to add that in, the football coaching.
Oh, that's what I want to ask about.
Well, thank you.
Were you a position coach, offensive guy?
I was a defensive coordinator.
Okay. What'd you run?
Yeah, we ran a 4-4, where we read guards at the time.
Like, this is going to go over really well, I think, with a lot of people, this kind of stuff.
They were good. That was an age when I was coaching that, it was unusual to see a 2,500 to 3,000 yard passer on the other side, but it was starting to come along.
So they were running the ball a lot.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing this up.
JD Vance is like printing out like Groyper memes and Wojaks, and like, these are what the Democrats are, doing that offensive like trans Wojak character. JD Vance is like showing this to people desperately. This is what the Democrats want to do. And meanwhile, this is Tim Walz. This is what he's doing.
That's exactly it. And our guards, you know, because
Contain.
in high school, if you pull a guard, it pretty much know where the ball's going. And if you
Yes.
can teach kids to do that.
Like student body right, student
Yeah,
body
yeah.
left, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone is tuning
Thank you
out.
for not allowing the yearbook to close on this chapter of my life.
I do think it's important. This is.
It is important, and I have to tell people this. So look, I did 24 years in the military.
He was excited to
and I
talk
started
about
running for
this.
Congress. I'm absolutely convinced, and people have told me this. No, it's because you won that state championship.
Really?
You guys won that. Well, we were 0-27. When I took the job, they said, "Well, we're kind of struggling. We were 0-27." But I had some other coaches I worked with who were great guys, and we said, "This is nonsense. Let's just turn this thing around." 3 years later, state champion. Now they're the state powerhouse.
You guys went from 0-27 to state champs in 3 years?
Yeah.
Who was your steroid guy?
No, we got them
Jesse
in the weight
Ventura?
room when
No?
they went. No.
Oh.
So.
That's
Well, they think I'm gay for drinking Mountain Dew. I love you guys. Like, yeah. That's going to go over really well. The most fucking weird and off-putting and alienating person. Walz is fixing cars and going to the fair with his daughter. Vance is obsessing over genitals all day, every day. Like, insane. And okay, and did you see they did like a what's supposed to be some kind of like effective Oppo ad? And it's even more off-putting. It's even more off-putting. Where is it? Shit, where did I put with that? Oh, I think it was Benny Johnson that shared it. That fucking loser, Benny Johnson. Did you folks see this? God, this guy tweets so much. What an absolute loser. And yeah, people were saying, yeah, they called the whole thing about Minnesota. They let him burn down Minnesota. It's like when he was and this is not a compliment. Like he's calling in the National Guard on protesters. And they're saying that like he personally burned down Minnesota. Look at this. Benny Johnson says, backfire. Team Trump already up with savage ad against weird Tim Walz. Holy smokes, this will stick. Good luck selling this psychotic lunatic to parents and suburban moms. Kiss 2024 goodbye. Look at this ad. Look at the first thing that happens on this ad.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons in boys' bathrooms?
What the
Or
fuck?
weirder than signing legislation allowing minors to receive sex change operations?
Like, contrast
Try
that with
electing the
Walz
man
just
who
like
signed
shooting the
those
shit about
bills
football.
Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation that endangers minors, hurts women, and puts radical
Feet and
ideology
pooping.
ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
Like, just like, again, contrast that with Walz just shooting the shit about football or whatever it is. It's the way they hate the weird thing. It's crazy. What's weird about our obsession with children and especially their genitalia for just showing basic fucking decency to some of the most marginalized kids out there? Tim Walz is anti-killing LGBT children. They still think like they keep running on this trans shit. And it just doesn't connect with people. It's this weird group of online fucking nutcases. And this is their policy platform, just freaking out about trans kids over and over and over again. Like, it's pathetic. Dakadu, Nick, that was a little spoiler because you're about 10 seconds ahead of me. That was a big play. GOP trying to appeal to like 10% of their base, and that's exactly what the fucking JD Vance pick was supposed to be. It's literally just red meat for like that really extremely fucking off-putting 10% of psychos. We're not weird. Now can we go back to talking about your family's genitals? Yeah, and they're gonna spend the next like 90 days being like, this man's so radical. He gave free school lunches to little kids. Like that's at the same time as they're framing him as being like dangerous for kids. It's like, what else did he do when it involves kids? Oh, gave them free school lunches. Oh, what a fucking terrible tragedy. What a terrible tragedy. Zionists are also having a meltdown, even though Wild still supports Israel and meets with the likes of Ian M. Cohen. Well, that's it. It's like because they expect to get every single thing that they want, including like the most like reactionary pro-Israel Zionist guy you can find. It's amazing to see them dodge that bullet, though. Yeah, this is the thing, BM Trio. That's the whole problem with like catering to this small group of fucking lunatics. Well, that was a foul. That was a foul, obviously. If they don't appease the freaks, then they lose the freaks. This is the problem. But it's like they're gonna have to figure out they're gonna have to cut these people loose. Like this shit is not working. Yeah, the Gusano effect. Fascism or bust. Doesn't matter how imperialist you are. Yeah, and again, it's like, we talk about this. It's the election coming up. We can talk about it. We can analyze it. But like, will remain to be seen. Like, we'll keep pointing out that there is actually not an option in this extremely democratic system, which is really in the process of lecturing other countries like Venezuela about their democracy. But of course, in this highly democratic system, you literally just can't vote for a non-genocide party that has any hope of winning. You can vote for, Jill Stein or whoever you want, but you can't. There's really not an option if you want to vote for a party that actually has a hope of winning.
I am honored to have been subscribed to Rob. Never give an inch, Rousseau. French L though.
Thank you, Dr. Maggot. Thanks so much for the... Oh, God damn it. Oh, that's rough. Thanks so much for the 31 months, Dr. Maggot. I appreciate it. Did you see that? Fucking Evan Fournier. Come on. Okay. Anyway, we're done. We're done with that now. Okay. I'm not watching hoops out of the corner of my eye now. Have any more Walls content? I don't know. Like I said, it's interesting to see them actually like make probably the correct call. Like it's just they really have nothing about this. And as I'm scrolling up, I see Incel for Engel say it's hilarious to see people like Ben Shapiro make fun of Walls for all the things that make him the most normal and average Midwesterner. Yeah, like look at this is what they've got. This is the big attack on Tim Walz. Meet Tim Walz, who lives in a van down by the river. He resembles an iconic comedy actor that was universally beloved. Oh my goodness. People are endeared by his DUI. I mean, as if a DUI is disqualifying in American politics. That's one of the most normal things that you can get in trouble for in American politics. Yeah, it's not. This one's not too long. This is from the New York Times. Thank you, Lodane. Why did Harris pick Walz? His policies and Midwest appeal stood out. The vice president is said to have liked Mr. Walz's economic policies in Minnesota, including a statewide child tax credit and a paid leave program, as well as his folksy Midwestern background. As Kamala Harris was landing on her choice of a vice presidential candidate, a few things about Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota brought him to the front of the pack. According to two people directly familiar with her decision-making, the economic policies Mr. Walz has championed as a governor, including a statewide child tax credit and a paid leave program, are the kinds of measures a Harris administration would try to enact on a national scale. In 2023, Mr. Walz also signed a bill that codified the protections of Roe v. Wade, which had guaranteed a constitutional right to abortion into law in his state. Abortion rights has been a cornerstone of Ms. Harris's advocacy work as vice president. Of course, the selection of Mr. Walz as running mate does not guarantee that any of his work at the state level could be replicated nationally should Ms. Harris win election in November. It would be interesting if they tried. You know, they could try. That'd be kind of an interesting strategy. Rather than trying and then immediately giving up when Joe Manchin says no. With 3 months to go before the election, Ms. Harris and her advisors have also decided that she needed someone who would have appeal in Midwestern states, including Michigan and Wisconsin, and are considered must-wins for her. Ms. Harris and her team liked his straight-talking style, including when he called former President Donald J. Trump and his fellow Republicans weird. Was he the guy that coined that? Because it does feel like some talking points went out, but was he the guy that actually coined that? If so, that's like a pretty big thing, pretty big deal as well, considering how much that has obviously bothered them. Mr. Walz is thought to be someone who could match up well against Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, Mr. Trump's vice presidential candidate and a fellow Midwesterner in a debate. He's gonna absolutely dominate J.D. Vance. Yeah. And he's in the military, all that good stuff. In the military, loves guns as well. Good for him. Please have a debate. Seriously, no, I would like to see J.D. Vance do nonstop fixations on trans kids and genitals and restricting what people are allowed to do in their personal lives. And then this kind of like folksy Midwest guy just shooting the shit about foot defensive formations. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Okay, and the Trump campaign is now reacting to Harris's VP pick. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News campaign reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, walk us through what they're saying.
Hey, Chanel, thank you for having me on. Caroline Leavitt, a Trump campaign press secretary, just sent out a statement calling Tim Walz a West Coast wannabe who spent his governorship trying to reshape Minnesota in the image of the Golden State. So already trying to brand Tim Walz, who's kind of this everyman, as you guys have all heard from our other reporters here, especially Hunter, kind of frame him and his handling
a dangerously liberal extremist. These guys are fucking outrageous.
Calling him dangerously liberal and a left-wing candidate and an extremist. So we've seen them come out. Obviously, we saw J.D. Vance earlier today say that if it was...
I liked his response to Republicans attacking him for his school meal program. They called it socialism, and he just said, call it what you want. Socialism, helping your neighbors. We just feed the kids. American politics isn't the time to get caught in a fight about theory or what socialism is. Better to make them look weird for not wanting to feed kids. I mean, I would like it to be a fight or theory about what socialism is. But I think if you're talking about just liberals, which are extremely disappointing and often very cowardly people, right? Like, set aside what we want, you know, in terms of our values. But like, we're talking about the liberal people who are annoying, and they never fight for anything. They never stand for anything. They're pathetic. They're cowards. They apologize for their own positions. They triangulate. These are the liberals that we're used to. So I will say that it is somewhat refreshing to see someone that's coming just from this liberal tradition who, instead of like apologizing for his own popular policy that feeds kids, he actually just like stands up for these policies. You know, that's kind of nice to see a liberal that's not just instantly bending over backwards to capitulate to these like outrageous bad faith attacks and just says, yes, we spent money on feeding kids. What of it? Turns out that's quite popular when you actually take the time to try and like sell people on these ideas in simple terms. You know, I talked a little bit about this on the Insurgents podcast last week, which is something that's very frustrating when you talk about climate and Pennsylvania and stuff, and like, oh, you can't ban fracking because then you're going to lose Pennsylvania and they need that to win. Well, like, why not just like explain to people not only why fracking is bad to do, but champion a economic policy. This is exactly what the Green New Deal was supposed to be. Have an economic policy that promotes renewable energy and is also trying to lift people's standards of living rather than like just like deindustrialize these places and leave these people alone. This like coastal liberal fracking bad, and you throw all these people out of work and just leave them to starve. No, we're going to like, yes, we're going to transition to a different form of energy production, but your life is going to improve. If you're part of this industry, it's going to improve and not get worse. You know, it's like, it would be nice to see this kind of stuff if they, instead of like running from and cowering and apologizing for these kinds of things, if they actually took the effort to explain why these policies are good and how they actually benefit people. Have you seen his Cuba take? No, do I want to? His China take was pretty good, but I'm interested to see what the Cuba take is. Of course, you can never say anything good about Cuba because then you might not win Florida, which the Democrats have pretty much just like have lost for this entire generation anyways. He didn't say Assad must go. Walz is a POS, full stop. Well, like, listen, anyone that's in the Democratic Party is ultimately going to be a piece of shit when you break it down. I mean, there's no one. There's literally not one person that doesn't have at least a few viewpoints that would make them a POS. That's just the reality. There's a few people in the United States government who have decent policies on certain things, but like often when it comes to other issues, they're going to falter and it's not going to be good. So it's not when we have this conversation, we're not, is this guy good or is he bad? Like, all of these people are bad. It's the evil United States government. You know, it's the extremely evil, grotesque America, the United Snakes of America and their evil, grotesque government. It's filled with monsters. But if we're just analyzing this election and the reality around it, it seems like this is probably the least bad option that Democrats could have possibly chosen. He can talk defensive schemes. He's winning SEC country. Yeah, and again, against like J.D. Vance, who's like this like fucking psycho. Minnesota governor vetoes gig worker pay bill. Yeah, I mean, so listen, none of these people are good. I'm like, we can acknowledge that. We have to talk about this election. So I think that's the reality. I think we can start from that absolute baseline that the bar is on the floor. When it comes to many policies that most of us are the most passionate about, the Democrats and Republicans are in total lockstep. Like I think we can talk about this election and analyze this and be frank about this, you know, and also acknowledge that at the same time. I'm only wondering how far right will Kamala lean now that she has a left-leaning VP. Kamala is a weird politician with no real principles. No, she's very much like a blank slate. Obama-esque in a way, isn't it? She's just kind of like a brand. She's kind of a brand that now people can kind of project what they believe onto. You know, Obama was obviously the most successful at running that kind of a campaign and just coming across as like a kind of charming, smart person. And giving this like sense of progressivism with no actual policies to go along with it, you know? They will have to defend some of Wall's more progressive policies, so there's that at least. Yeah, and like we were saying in that New York Times piece, it seems like these policies were a big part of putting him in that position in the first place. Kamala has a lot of Wall Street backers, and Eric Holder's law firm is doing the vetting for staff. Well, yeah, to talk about the Obama thing, right? We're just going to get the Citibank execs to pick out the cabinet.
Was not Josh Shapiro.
Let's watch the rest of this.
The Democrats were afraid of the left-wing, quote, anti-Semitic part of their party. Tim Walz is obviously not Jewish, but we've seen kind of this Trump campaign preparation for what a potential VP pick from Harris looks like. And remember that Walz was the candidate or in this vice presidential race who really branded J.D. Vance and Donald Trump as, quote, weird, as we spoke about earlier at the top of the hour.
And Jake, I just want to read this to folks who are watching right now. This is a statement on Kamala Harris's selection of Tim Walz today. And this is what it says, quote, "It is no surprise that San Francisco liberal Kamala Harris wants West Coast wannabe Tim Walz as her..."
Worst thing about Walz is that the pod Johns are going to act all fucking smug again. I think those guys should probably try to keep a lower profile. They're just getting a lot of bad press right now with Pod Save America staffers like trying desperately to get the fucking host to talk about the Democrats supporting the mass murder of little kids, which I think is not only a morally abhorrent thing to do, but bad politically as well. And also Jon Favreau, who's like insanely rich now. Like, you go from a speechwriter to a podcaster, and he's buying like multi-million-dollar mansions and stuff like that. So maybe if I was those guys, I would maybe be a little less smug and try to pay their employees better and actually take some genuinely progressive positions for once.
Running mate, Walz has spent his governorship trying to reshape Minnesota in the image of the Golden State. While Walz pretends to support Americans in the heartland, when the cameras are off, he believes that rural America is, quote, mostly cows and rocks. From proposing his own carbon-free agenda to suggesting stricter emission standards for gas-powered cars and embracing policies to allow convicted felons to vote, Walz is...
Not so scary. Better emission standards. Look at this radical extremism from the fucking party that's obsessed with everybody's genitals. Emission standards? No. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's just dangerous. This dangerous, terrifying rhetoric. Next thing you want to tell me, wants to give kids lunch at school. Are you eating pickles? No, I'm eating a cucumber and kimchi salad, actually. Yeah, and it literally is mostly cows and rocks, for sure. And that's just how they like it there, right?
Obsessed with spreading California's dangerously liberal agenda far and wide. If Walz won't tell voters the truth, we will. Just like Kamala Harris, Tim Walz is a dangerously liberal extremist, and the Harris-Walz California dream is every American's nightmare, end quote. So, Jake, what's the play here? What does this say about the attack strategy that we can expect going forward?
Well, we've seen the Trump campaign kind of struggle to clearly define the policies of Kamala Harris, but her campaign, as she's still been vetting and now picking...
I'm really not caping for Dr. Disrespect and Mr. Beast. Here, if you want me to talk briefly about that, I think Dr. Disrespect is one of the most surreal moments. There's actually two moments, like live, where you can see his entire life and career collapsing, and he receives text messages live, and it's really one of the most surreal moments I've ever seen in both of those occasions. I don't know, fuck him, he's annoying. He's an annoying dipshit. I hope he goes away forever. And of course, he's pivoting to hardcore reactionary stuff now that he's like gotten busted for DMing teenagers. And what Mr. Beast, look, we always know that Mr. Beast is exploiting people. I mean, that's always been very clear, right? I think. I don't really, again, I'm an older guy. I don't really watch any of this content. So, and I'm going to put on the rest of this.
Candidate, they've been trying to redefine what their policies are as Joe Biden is no longer at the top of the ticket. We've seen, obviously, the Trump campaign stance on immigration since Trump announced his candidacy. The Republican Governors Association, so the counterpart of the group that Walz is in charge of, criticized Walz just moments ago in a memo for, quote, supporting a sanctuary state for Minnesota and him calling the border wall.
What did Mr. Beast do now? I honestly haven't really looked into it. I think there's been some like scandals about how his team operates, like how the contestants are being mistreated. I mean, lo and behold, when you just create this like fucking carnival situation and you have a guy doing these like high stakes reality TV things in like with no regulation or oversight at all, and it's just some like kid within a bunch of his dipshit friends, you know, lo and behold, the things go sideways. He's in 3 different controversies. Okay.
Walz also signed a bill that expanded...
Yeah, the campaign is going to be all immigrants and genitals. That's all they're going to talk about.
Obviously, just one angle of them trying to frame Tim Walz as soft on immigration and pro-illegal immigration, something that President Trump has...
Immigrants and genitals. What have we inspected the genitals of these immigrants coming into the country? Have we inspected their genitals? Where we need a massive new federal bureaucracy to just look at everyone's genitals. Just go into the schools, into your workplace, into your home, on the border, and let's have a genital inspection police. That's going to be the big New Deal style policy by the Republican Party here. Walz is soft on genitals. That's what they're saying. Like, it's fucking insane, honestly. Why do they? I don't know. Like, you know, it's so, I do find it weird. It is weird. It's really weird to think about this all the time. It's really strange, and it does not affect the average person at their like in their regular lives. The Genital Inspection Unit, the GIU, JD Vance is going to launch this massive new federal program. Yeah, our opponents are soft on genitals. Well, we want to be hard on genitals, okay? Like, it's just really off-putting, honestly. These are just deeply off-putting people.
Couple weeks.
Okay, Jake, thank you. And if you're just joining us right now, CBS News has confirmed that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has a history of successfully appealing to moderate voters, is Kamala Harris's choice for her running mate. Harris will publicly announce this pick shortly before kicking off a multi-day tour of battleground states starting today in Philadelphia. We will bring you continuing coverage throughout the day, online, and here on CBS News 24/7. Stay with us for more.
There we go. This dangerous radical extreme. And again, all the ways that we could call someone like Tim Walz a radical extremist is all like the Republican Party all agree with that. That paints themselves into a little bit of a corner there. You know, we could call him a pro-police extremist, a pro-genocide extremist. You know, a border extremist, whatever it is. But all these people love that shit, so... Like, here's Amy. Remember Amy?
I want to read a little bit now from a new post on Kamala Harris's Instagram. This is what she is saying. I am proud to announce that I have asked Governor Walz to be my running mate. One of the things that stood out to me about Tim is how his convictions on fighting for middle-class families run deep. It's personal. He grew up in a small town in Nebraska, spending summers working on his family's farm. His father died of cancer when he was 19, and his family relied on Social Security survivor benefit checks to make ends meet. At 17, he enlisted in the National Guard, serving for 24 years. He used his GI Bill benefits to go to college and become a teacher. He served as both the football coach and the advisor of the Gay Straight Alliance. I share this background both because it's impressive in its own right and because you see in no uncertain terms how it informs his record. He worked with Republicans to pass infrastructure investments. He cut taxes for working families. He passed a law to provide paid family and medical leave to Minnesotan families. He made Minnesota the first state in the country to pass a law providing constitutional abortion protections after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And as an avid hunter, he passed a bill requiring universal background checks for gun purchases. And she goes on to say, what impressed me most about Tim is his deep commitment to his family. Gwen, Gus, and Hope. Doug and I look forward to working with him and Gwen to build an administration that reflects
no Ivy League diploma
values. So she really puts out
what a
his
tragedy.
Bio on Instagram this morning, talking about his roots and what he's bringing to the Harris-Walz ticket. And joining us now, somebody who knows both former Senator Kamala Harris, now VP Kamala Harris, now presidential candidate Kamala Harris, as well as
friend of the stream,
Governor Tim Walz. And thank you, Senator Amy Klobuchar.
This was supposed to be the everyday working class guy, but ended up being a couch fucker fantasizing about dolphins, you know, and just like average people's genitals as well.
First, give your reaction to this big announcement.
Well, this is just fantastic for Minnesota, of course, but most importantly for the country. Tim is someone that you got to understand. This guy, very unique in modern day politics, coming out of a small town in Nebraska on a farm, met his wife there, ends up teaching in Mankato, Minnesota, my husband's hometown. And I go so far back with Tim that my mother-in-law brought a Parmesan chicken dinner to their home when their son was born, Gus. That is a true story, which he always did when families would have children. And he then goes on to be a high school football coach, once described as a burly high school football coach, which I think for me is a great description of what we need right now to take on Donald Trump. He then heads to running for Congress in a district that he wins that only in 100 years has only had 2 Democrats. So you have to know how to bring people together to do
Let's see how your chicken Parmesan would fare in a blizzard.
And the left, and that's what he's done as governor. And he has this sense.
I go so far back with Tim. I once threw my cup of coffee at him in a fit of rage.
Getting our state through the
we shared a comb salad together one time.
Pandemic in his red plaid shirt and bringing people together as one Minnesota. So I cannot tell you how promising this is going to be for our nation, how positive this is, what a fantastic choice when you look at someone, because not many VPs have stood in a deer stand in 10-degree weather. Tim Walz has done that. He can handle anything.
That reminds me of when you made your announcement to run in 2020 in that snowstorm. And
there we go. Bring it back.
Yes, he was there. Yes.
We're looking to
and what did you say?
And just say, wow, she's tough.
And what happened then? What happened then, Amy?
If you've had a chance to speak with Governor Walz
what happened
this morning
then?
Since this decision.
Well, I didn't talk to him this morning, but I talked to him late last night and was able to see him. We did one last event in Minnesota, and in his typical
She
way,
didn't say it.
no notes, unscripted.
What did you tweet, Amy? Come on.
Would love to just dive right in there, but I think had a few other things to do. And at one point, the band took the microphone off.
Say it, Amy.
And Tim was helping me to find the microphone so that we could start the event. So I'm just telling you, he is humble as they come. He is just someone that is just almost you.
I bet her hair did really
well
well in the blizzard.
Gwen
I
and
agree.
Tim over on New Year's Day for lunch. My husband and I did, just because they're really a great, great couple as well. And I can't wait for the nation to see that.
And you mentioned being at that Democratic fundraiser with Governor Walz last night, and you talked about
Nice boring story, Amy. Nice boring story, Amy, says Squatch Drew. And I got to give a brief shout out to Squatch Drew. It's just his birthday. We got a little birthday boy. Not today, but I believe it was yesterday. Happy birthday to Chatter, well, beloved Chatter, Squatch Drew. Happy birthday to you, sir. Yesterday, belated.
how the nation's now getting to see this man that
How would your birthday fare in a blizzard?
To love, and you talk about his roots, his humble roots, how he worked his way up as a teacher, as a veteran, as somebody who's really been a servant to the country in every possible way. You say he went to Congress from a rural district, now is governor of your proud state. He's talked about
He's a growing boy.
Bringing joy to the ticket, to the political just calculus and conversation in general. What does that look like?
Say, notice I talked about my eventful weekend of outrageous partying, and I talked a little bit about hoops, and I don't know what else. Maybe someone else could fill you in.
Politics of joy.
Yeah, so to me, this looks like a ticket, and you can sure say this about Vice President
Yeah, I was watching the
Harris
Canada game
and
at the
incredible
out of the
last
corner of
few
my
weeks
eye.
where people have just thanks to
Unfortunate.
President Biden's extraordinary decision, selfless decision, but people are just positive. She's got thousands and thousands of people.
They just went
showing
down,
up our
like they
rallies.
played very well, Canada, in the whole second half. Like I think they won the second half. They looked really good. Just they got right out the gate, really, really bad start and just couldn't recover. Like that's just one of those games that happens. It's very unfortunate. Feel bad for the guys.
And she has that incredible way of saying, okay, things aren't easy. There's a lot of challenges out there, but we can get through this as a country.
Can you imagine how much Mayo, Amy, and Walz much use on a weekly basis? Yeah, and I find that very appealing to me. I'm a big Mayo fan, so that's one thing that makes both of these people very relatable to me.
That's what they have in common in a big way. That's what Tim Walz has been like as governor. Where
Canada
he
as
said,
whole was
I
too
know
big.
This is a tough time right now in that middle of that
I'm still
pandemic,
writing how I think
but
about how
we're gonna
mad
get through
Morning
this.
Joe
And
is
now
right now. I'll bet.
CNBC
All the
just
worst,
ranked
all
our
some
state
very
as sixth in
annoying
the country
people are very
for
upset
doing
right now,
business.
Stu.
He is someone that brings that same positive effervescence to our country. And I just think to imagine that we can get in a better place when it comes to childcare and housing and bringing prescription drugs down, something that Tim Walz worked on a state level, Kamala Harris worked on a national level, you've got to see and bring people with you to see that you can get there. And that idea of unifying our country, you can't get there unless you are able to show that you really mean it and that you have the track record of doing it. And that
It rules how mad all the Zionists are. Yeah, well now Kamala's obviously Hamas. Like let's call it what it is. More like Kamala Hamas. Oh God, I hope that sticks. They should. If there's any like Republican conservative strategist out there watching this, please, Kamala Hamas, please. That's gonna stick. I guarantee you. Let's see. We got to see some Kamala Hamas photoshops. Trump settled for Kamabla. What does that even mean? What is Kamabla?
that's something that Tim Walz is
Oh,
going to
hell
bring
yeah.
to this ticket in a big, big way.
And how does he defend against the attacks that are already coming from the Trump campaign, calling him an open border zealot, saying he's weak on violent crime, saying that he let the Minneapolis Police Department's police headquarters burn down during the George Floyd protest.
Good for him.
So
if that was the case, I think that'd be a good thing.
They're headed with attacking this new ticket. What's the best defense?
You know, I first of all see Tim Walz, the veteran. I see someone that.
And this is, of course, they have to back up all the law and order credentials, of course.
In the case of the violence that erupted after the tragic murder of George Floyd, Tim Walz did call in the National Guard, and he stood by that decision despite getting some grief for it.
This is not good.
I see someone that
this is not. You know, you should not be talking about this.
And someone that has opposed the defund the police measure that was actually on the ballot in Minneapolis.
Great, thank you, Amy. You've done enough.
But Tim Walz was right.
I don't know why you fucking even answer these bullshit claims. Just pivot to talking about feeding hungry kids at school. Why are you like? No, he called in the National Guard on the police violence protesters. Don't worry. This guy's all right. This guy's all right. Believe me. He called in the National Guard so fast when there was protests over one of our fucking many Nazi psychotic police officers in this country openly murdering someone in the street, and there was protests and vandalism. Don't worry, this man called in the National Guard so quick. You know, they had it in the bag. You just had to keep talking. That's what I mean. Yeah, just pivot to talking about giving kids school lunches. How about that? I think that would be my strategy. That would be my advice for your strategy whenever they go to these like attacks about being like a extremist or whatever. Don't worry, he'll do Republican shit too. Okay, you're not helping.
Out front there opposing that. So I think all of these facts, I remember the days where maybe you spent a day welcoming someone to the ticket. I guess that's not Donald Trump. But the point is that you've got someone in Tim Walz.
But what did Trump say about your hair, Amy? What did he say?
About this, Minnesota's a state of vice presidents. Humphrey, Mondale, you know, moms bounce their babies on their knees.
Brandon, how's it going?
One day you can grow up to be vice president.
But what did Trump say about your hair?
Is giving the nation with Tim Walz is one who's incredibly smart and someone who can lead and bring people with us. He knew that as a football coach. He knew that as a member of our military. She is also getting someone she can trust. I know him as a friend. He's someone you can trust, and you want that governing our nation. And then she's bringing in someone that brings some other interests and other
Brandon, you don't know?
Areas of expertise.
You don't know what he said?
He is someone that
you're
served
gonna
on
find
the
out, buddy.
Agriculture Committee of the House of Representatives. He's someone that served on armed services, someone that those are the things that he chose to focus on when he got to the Congress, which is going to be incredibly important, particularly in the Midwest, in states like Wisconsin and in Michigan.
Oh, you're going to find out, buddy.
The president actually sent out a tweet. He made fun of me for talking about climate change in the middle of a blizzard, and he called me Snow Woman. So I wrote back, hey, Donald Trump, the science is on my side, and I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. So I wrote back, hey, Donald Trump, the science is on my side, and I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. So I wrote back, Donald Trump, the science is on my side, and I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. Sometimes, if you haven't noticed, you use a little humor. Like when he called me Snow Woman at my announcement in the middle of that thing, I wrote back on Twitter, I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. So I wrote back, hey, Donald Trump. So I wrote back, hey, Donald Trump. So I wrote back. I tweeted back. The science is on my side. And I'd like to see how your hair would fare. And I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. I'd like to see how your hair fares in a blizzard. I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard. Mr. Umbrella. Mr. Umbrella Man. Senator. And he called me Snow Woman.
So I wrote back, I'd like to see
Look at Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg just looks like he wants to kill somebody for some reason. He's heard this story. I've heard this goddamn anecdote 60 times, Amy. Look at his face.
So I wrote back, I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard.
It's fun. It is kind of funny how Pete Buttigieg was just not even in consideration whatsoever. He's thinking about murdering puppies there for sure. Look at this. I did see though that there was some really devastating Oppo research that just dropped on Tim Walz. Are you ready for this? I did see something. This may hurt him a little bit. I gotta say, as much as a lot of these attacks have been ineffective, this did just drop, and I think this might be kind of a big deal. Look at this. This is Tim Walz's family. That's the whole tweet. This is his family. Wow. This is the face of radicalism in America. This communist. This American Maoist. I did see the follow-up. Someone was like, I don't know, it looks normal to me. And he's like, I just posted it. If someone can find something not normal, let me know. What gamer shit do you think his son is into? Fortnite? I wonder if he uses like the skibbity zoomer lingo and that kind of stuff. Definitely Fork Knife. Smash Bros, son. Yeah. Roblox. Gyat. Yeah, this kid says Gyat. The son of the vice presidential nominees regularly says Gyat. Absolutely. Ohio Gyat. The great thing about appropriating this like Zoomer language is like not like, yes, I seem lame when I just talk like this, but the issue is though that I take all these words and silliness and I make it lame by touching it, and I force this generation to come up with new shit. We appropriate all their, we ironically appropriate all their slang terms right away, and it instantly becomes uncool when people like me start saying it. You can push the Zoomers left. Sigma grind set, gyat, skibbity toilet. Exactly. Many are saying this. That should just be his campaign slogan. That's how you appeal to the Zoomer base. That's how you appeal to them. His son is a stereotypical Midwestern large son, just like his dad. Harris Walz is going to sweep the Midwest on that pick alone. Yeah. Again, when we talked about this originally, you just take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and put them in a room with just like a couple of average low info voters, and then take Kamala Harris and Walz and put them in front of some of the same people, and who's going to come across as more like normal and appealing? Skibbity go to the polls. Hello, fellow Zoomers. How skibbity do you do? How do you skibbity do? Just do a photo op of a bit of Culver's with a butter burger and you're golden. That sounds very nice. That sounds very good. A butter burger from Culver's. Wow. Trump is far from it, and Trump has lost a step. All his nicknames, none of it's like. None of it's connecting with anything. No one cares that Trump was almost assassinated. I find that very funny. I find that really funny that no one cares about the assassination. We really all thought. We all saw that happen. We saw the image with the fist and the blood, the fight thing. And it's like, oh shit, he's going to really use this to die. And it's like, no one cares. I think that's really fun. I think that's really cool. And now they're just desperately trying to remind people. You know? They're desperately trying to remind people. It happened. It happened. No, it didn't, sir. It never happened. It's a made-up tale. People just made fun of J.D. Vance within a week and forgot about Trump. That's ultimately why Trump may end up ditching Vance as well. He had it in the palm of his hand, and then he whiffed the VP selection because his dipshit son, Don Jr., told him to elect this, like, alienating, off-putting, weird Groiper psycho. And whatever maybe goodwill that he might have had instantly evaporated. They're doing the please clap for an assassination attempt. It happened. Like, they're literally saying it happened. It happened. No, it didn't. It never happened. Not this time. We gotcha. This one was invented by a writer.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer. Not this time. It never happened. It's false. It never happened. It's a fake. It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance.
We gotcha.
Not this time. It never happened. It never happened. We made this one up. It's fiction. We made up this one. We made it up. Not this time. Wrong. Not this time. Not this time.
Not this
You're
time.
Wrong. Not this time. It never happened.
Folks, before we move on, I'm going on 2 hours into the stream here. If you can, please subscribe to TRRS. I've tried not to do too many calls to action. I've been through this kind of like erratic streaming schedule lately. Still not totally like dug myself out of the hole that I got from taking a couple weeks off for vacation, hanging out with my son, that kind of stuff. So if you can, please subscribe. Dr. Maggot also sub, but do you know you can also gift subscriptions to other people? As you know, folks, I'm trying to make this little number at the bottom of the screen go up each and every day. If you can, please subscribe. Help me make the little number go up. I'm 2 hours into the stream. Was not here yesterday. 31 subs to go to get to the goal. Please subscribe and support this program if you can. If only if you can. If you can't, then I get it. It's fine. You don't have to if you really can't. But if you can, folks, please help the little number go up. Rob's hole is too big and only you can help him fill it. That's what they say. That's what they say. I'm just gonna wait a moment for some of those subs to come through. Should be any moment now, I imagine. Right now in the sub leaderboards, we've got Blurp Blurg leading the way this month so far with 10 gifted subs. We got Lil Baby Beef following close behind with 6, and we got Kijiji Genie with 5. So it's really, the leaderboard is there for anyone's taking. And I'm sure any moment now, I won't be left hanging and I won't be humiliated at this failed call to action. I know any moment now they're going to come rolling in. Say, baby Gronk, skibbity gyat, bring me the subs, Riz. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Thank you, Diego, for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you. To Xena C. Otter. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
Don
this.
Dark Zoni, thank you for the 40...
TRRS
Thank you for the 44 months and for all the support over the years. Thank you, Don Dark Zoni. I appreciate that a whole lot. We got a couple of unsub chatters as well.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thank you for the gifted sub. It looks like we've got Miraculous Lee as well. Unsubbed. The unsubbied. Like in Game of Thrones. The unsubbied. Kijiji, thank you for the 420. Very kind of you. I appreciate it. That's the weed number.
We cheered for the boys and it wasn't enough. Here's a token of appreciation for the progress
You can count
Team
on me. You're
Canada
going to
has
have
made
good old
this year.
Rob to talk you through all this.
Brandon at Powerless Pod, thank you for the gifted sub as well. I really appreciate that. Brandon, thanks Sinister Hand as well for the handful of biddies.
Count on me.
Very
You're gonna
cool.
have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Everyone should be checking out Powerless Pod as well. I really enjoy appearing on that program, and I will appear on it again at some point eventually. This summer's been a little crazy so far. And Don Dark Sony, thank you for the gifted sub. Very kind of you. Thank you. Chat, Skibbity, do you want to mog on Bezos? Riz it up by giving your Prime sub to Rob, who is goated with the sauce. Thank you, Husker. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Could not have said it any better myself. That was fantastic. Make sure you use your webcam mic again on the Powerless Pod. That sounded awesome. Yeah, thank you once again, Brandon, for not pointing that out. Brandon was too nice to point out when I appeared on his show that I was making all my points using my webcam mic. I'll never live it down. I'm supposed to be good at this stuff. I'm supposed to be a professional broadcaster, and I was deeply humiliated. But it's okay. Brandon's still a good guy. Still a good guy.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Ryaland, thank you for the 100 bits. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And folks, we are a mere 26 subs to go to get to the goal. A mere 26 subs to go, and I'm sure any moment now, the flood is going to be coming in. We got a hype train going. Just please bear with me throughout this call to action. Gosh. So we do have a hype train now going, folks. So not only can you support this program, but you can also get access to very cool Twitch emotes as well. I did see the Twitch Android app update. How do you make the app worse? That's what I want to know. Because it was already not good. Like, it was already like really not good. And it's now worse. We've got Chatter Miraculously still unsubbed. Do we have a generous sub gifter? There we go. Look at that. Right on cue.
To talk you through all this.
Right on cue, Don Dark Zoni with the gifted sub. Thank you, Don Dark Zoni. Very cool. I appreciate it.
Me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And another one.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good.
Oh my goodness,
Rob
he's going
to
crazy
talk
over
you through
here.
all this.
Don Dark Zoni's going crazy. Thank you, Don Dark Sony, for the batch of gifted subs there. We're now 85% of the way through this hype train, folks. 23 subs to go. It's within grasp now. It's within grasp. It's within reach.
Thanks, Sinister Hand, for another couple of bits. Oh. Don saw the price of a sub go up $1 and said, I'm all in. I'm all in, baby. That's right. We love it. One of the extremely generous, non-intelligence community connected chatters. Folks, one more sub or one more gifted sub is going to get us to level 3 of this hype train. One generous subber could potentially move Rob into a mansion with an outdoor pool and a 5-car garage. Exactly. That's what I'm angling for. That's exactly what I'm angling for, folks.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob.
And look at that, Don Darkzoni with another gifted sub. Don't chat. Don't leave it all to Don Darkzoni. Like Don Darkzoni's trying desperately from his office in beautiful Langley, Virginia, trying desperately to get this hype train out of the station himself. And Chad, I gotta say, you're kind of leaving him high and dry. It's a bit messed up, actually. It is a little bit messed up. I'm sorry to say.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Inflation is hitting the TRRS gifties. It is like that, Dakadoon. That's right. It do be like that. Rylan, thanks for another 100 bits. Once again, I asked the unprofitable company Twitch. They're like, maybe we'll finally turn a profit if we raise the prices of these subscriptions. When I say, as I pointed out a number of times, I think what they should do is lower the price. Lower the price and then sell more subs. I think that's the genius economic investment they need to make. Oh, I'm sleepy, chat. I'm very sleepy. If it didn't cost $9 CAD to gift a sub on mobile, I would chip in. That's so many dollars. That is so many. Ah. Folks, only 22 subs to go. A couple minutes left in this hype train. I can move on after this and talk about some more serious business. Please do subscribe or gift subs if you can. I can move past this whole painful, embarrassing call to action segment. I don't like it. You don't like it. I get it. We got 2 minutes left. 22 subs to go. I'm sure any moment now, all those subs are going to come in. And the number is going to go up and become the good number. It's right now, it's the bad number, and we need to be turning it into the good number. Can you believe the line is up again in this amazing rational system known as the stock market? I don't know how this shit works. I really don't. There's a VJ notification coming. I feel it. I think so too.
To talk you through all this.
I think so too.
And thank you, Anon, for the gifted sub. Very kind of you. Thank you. And folks, now what a milestone we've passed as well today. Only 497 subs to go to my ultimate goal. So that's a measly 21 subs, to get to the daily sub goal, and a measly, pathetic 497 subs to go to get to the overall goal. Can you believe how close that is? That's crazy. That's crazy, folks. That's crazy. I think today's the day. I really think today's the day, chat. Only 200 subs in the hole from the pre-vacation number. That's right. Yeah. Never fails.
You've just become an elite member.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
Triangle.
Right at the buzzer. Buzzer beater. Squatch Drew. Thank you so much. It's Squatch Drew's birthday. I don't think Squatch Drew should be gifting subs right now. Chat, that's kind of on you. But Squatch, thank you so much for 5 gifted subs. That's very, very kind of you. Oh, and you actually extended the hype train. Oh my goodness. I thought it was done. I thought it missed. I thought it was after the buzzer. They were going to go into the instant replay and see your finger still on the button as the buzzer went off. It's like when you bring cupcakes for your own dang B-Day. I know. Seriously. But chat, only 16 subs to go. Only 16 little subs to go. Crazy. I know.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Sean. Thank you, Sean, for the gifted sub. Very kind of you, Sean. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, sir. He lives. He still lives. Fantastic. And only 15 little itty-bitty subs to go. Very cool. Very exciting. How dare you tell Squatch what to do with his birthday money? Well, I don't know, I guess. I just feel like there's anyone that deserves a day of rest and relaxation. And we'll move on in just a few minutes, chat. We'll move on in just a few minutes. We got more serious business to get into. We got level 4 of a hype train happening. $15 subs to go. It's within reach. It is within grasp. We got 1 VJ and 1 elite member friendship triangle alerts to get there. 2 measly alerts could get us there across the finish line.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Weenus, for the gifted sub. Very kind of you, Weenus. Thank you. World news has me on edge lately, if you can believe it. Well, we're going to get into that even more very soon. We're not. I say we're not on edge enough. I don't think we're on edge enough, chat. We must go deeper.
14 subs to go, chat. It's there. It's right there. Our hand is just, the brass ring is in sight.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Rob, please stop talking in sports metaphors. You need to forget the terrible game that let you down. The triangle is here to prop you up. Chin up. Show us that smile. Will away the depression. You can do it, laughing face.
Wow. Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's outrageous. That's just outrageous. Rad left dad. Well. Rad left dad. Thank you so much for the extremely generous 14 gifted subs. Thank you for being so traumatized by my bizarre forced rictus there. That you got to this, you single-handedly dragged my tired ass across the finish line to get to the sub goal. Absolutely fantastic. Rad left dad. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you. Extremely cool. Sam F said rictus. You've never heard the word rictus before? Rictus damn near killed him. Huh? I know it was a dad thing to say. That's how I operate. That's how I operate. Thank you so much, folks, for supporting this channel, and thank you once again to Rad Left Dad. That was extremely generous for the 14 gifted subs. That was very, very cool of you. Thank you. I believe this segment can't start without watching the dude getting the brick
Count
again.
on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
There we go.
Chris Barnes, thanks for the 4 months tier 1. Thank you, Chris. I've been on mushrooms for 2 days and I thought it said 1.4 subs. Oh no. Oh no. What else do we got? You know, we are 90% of the way through level 5 of this hype train. I mean, even though we have reached the goal, which is fantastic, it is possible to just go the other, there's 10% more to get to the next level. Okay. So let's talk about this ongoing situation in the UK here, chat. It's been like the footage has been completely crazy, and like I said when we started talking about this earlier on, I think it's really hard to look around at the climate with regards to like immigration, like all throughout Europe, in Canada, and the United States, and not watch what's unfolding in England right now with a sort of sense of impending dread. I mean, the public open racism in Canada has gotten so shocking to me, just like all the viral posts on social media targeting Indian people in particular. Like the idea, like it's totally normal basically to just like do social media posts just basing like being Indian people bad in Canadian social media circles. And it's like, there's no analysis, there's no like comment, there's no anything. It's literally just taking images of Indian people at like Home Depot or Costco or wherever the fuck, and showing, or in the pool, and just showing it to people and being like, look at this, what's what happened to our country. And like, we'll remember as well, a lot of the stuff we're seeing in the UK, like the Holiday Inn being set on fire and stuff. Like, we can talk about, you know, the UK, and we're going to look at some video content on this, but like this is a from December. This is a Toronto Sun headline from December. Free hotel rooms, meals for refugee applicants reportedly cost $769 million in 2023. Like, this is what the Sun has been doing for years. Like, it's all this exact same kind of rhetoric, all this exact same climate is being duplicated and replicated here. And you may recall a couple years ago, there was let me see if I can find it, because there was a Toronto Sun article about refugees at this hotel butchering goats. Butchering goats with zero fucking evidence by Sue Ann Levy, who's an actual fascist, like just a full-on fascist. This is what I'm talking about, though, because like if you've been paying attention to the way that Canadian media, reactionary right-wing media, talks about immigrants, it's been like a really common thing now for like multiple years. Like, this is 2018. This is from Sue Ann Levy. Irregular migrants continuing to flock to Toronto. And it's just like a couple of brown women with wearing hijabs. It's supposed to be like a scary thing. Ottawa, we have a problem. It's not just that Toronto shelters are full with 2,600 or 39.2% of the spaces occupied by refugees or asylum seekers, irregular migrants, whatever they're calling them today. I'm sure Sue Ann Levy wouldn't support expanding these shelters, of course. No evidence that those women aren't citizens. No, of course not. Zero. It's literally just a photographer just like taking a picture of a couple of brown women hanging around. I follow 6Buzz to see what the normie conservative talking points are. According to Heinz Fitzsimmons, the federal government procured 2 hotels in Peel and York to house the irregular, aka illegal, migrants who were placed in the Centennial and Humber College dorms earlier in the summer. As reported by Canadian press, the federal government has extended their hotel stay 4 weeks beyond the original deadline of September 30th, because they've yet to come up with a more long-term approach that would send the refugees to communities beyond Toronto. There are also 1,700... This is from 2018, remember, Canadian media. We're talking about the UK, but I'm trying to illustrate the fact that like the climate, especially in right-wing media, is extremely similar. The reputable TripAdvisor website has been inundated in the past few weeks with scathing reviews of the hotel, calling it a zoo, filthy, noisy, and dangerous, with the lobby full of loitering refugees and halls containing graffiti and garbage. And by the way, this is all just anonymous TripAdvisor quotes. This is what's sourced. This is what's sourced in this Sue Ann Levy article about these immigrant
populations. Been seeing different versions of this migrant panic stuff for years. It's so crazy, from Facebook to YouTube to the Post, etc. They can't give it up. It's so tired. And that was a centerpiece of the Trump campaign, which is the amazing thing, which is that Kamala Harris is running to Trump's right on this. They tried to pass a piece of border legislation that was like a Trump Stephen Miller wet dream, and then they're complaining that Donald Trump doesn't want to support this legislation and promoting their own hardline immigration bona fides. It's crazy. Sorry, Canada's up to 41 million people. 1.7k people in 41 million is nothing. No, it's just too much. It's too much. It's like a bucket, and it's just about to overfill. But again, this is all sourced by anonymous TripAdvisor comments. Asked what the city has spent to date housing irregular migrants, refugees, asylum seekers. Heinz Fitzsimmons said the cost from November 2017 to the end of the year will likely be in excess of $64.5 million. Oh, and look, correction. There's actually the Sun. This is so egregious. The Sun actually issued a correction. Correction. The original version of this column referenced a TripAdvisor post that wrongly claimed goats were being slaughtered in public bathrooms at the hotel. So they actually took that claim down, because in the original version of this post by Sue Ann Levy, this was the claim that not only is it noisy and smelly or whatever, these hotels filled with asylum seekers, but they were slaughtering goats. They're slaughtering goats. So every kind of like Orientalist, like Islamophobic trope you can imagine. And if you'll recall, I remember this very well because this is a really radicalizing moment talking about in getting into talking about Canadian politics. Least racist TripAdvisor poster, seriously. And if you'll recall, someone after this claim tried to burn down this hotel. Neither did the writer describe any attempt. It took issue with referring to TripAdvisor as a reputable source, giving it credibility, even as the columnist was unable to confirm or deny any of the information reported from that source. This is how easy it is to be a columnist in Canada. You can literally just make shit up. No reporting, no investigation, just total vibes. Just make up some shit that you found on the internet, take a picture of some brown women in hijabs on the street, and call it a day for Sue Ann Levy. Neither did the writer describe any attempt to visit the hotel, verify the claim, or offer any caution about the failed efforts to do so. And I'm trying to find the story about how someone tried to burn the hotel. October 11th, 2018. It was like a nightmare. Police investigate fire started at Toronto hotel housing refugees. And Sue Ann Levy, of course, never faced any actual consequences for promoting this article based on total bullshit that led to someone trying to burn down the hotel. An employee found lit gas can on third floor of Radisson Hotel last week. So I just wanted to, I remember this story. I remember covering it in 2018, like when I was first getting into podcasting, and I wanted to talk about it in case we think that like what's happening in the UK is some kind of like British thing or some sign of British decline or some kind of like part of their deep brain poisoned illness over the decline of their once powerful empire. It's not just the UK. This is the flashpoint right now. Right-wing media in the UK is the exact same. It's all this exact same kind of fear-mongering. And this is the result. And let's see how the BBC frames this issue.
Where there's been renewed rioting in some cities in England and Northern Ireland. The worst outbreaks of violence came in Belfast, Plymouth and Birmingham. Nearly 400 people have been arrested after a week of violent disorder, which began last week in Southport after the fatal stabbings of 3 girls and escalated following misinformation about the identity of the perpetrator spread on social media. Last night in Plymouth, at least 3 police officers were injured in what the police described as sustained violence. Bricks and fireworks were thrown at them. 6 arrests were made. In Belfast, riot officers had stones and petrol bombs thrown at them close to a supermarket which was set alight at the weekend. As the latest disorder unfolded, the
Riots is the same. It's just a more extreme version of stuff that we've lived through here already.
Civil war is inevitable in the UK.
And Elon Musk, to coin a phrase, throwing gasoline on the fire.
2 opposing protests in Plymouth started.
And I will say, as much as we do need to be extremely alarmed by this, it is always really, I think, inspiring to see these communities come together to defend themselves from these like psycho fascists. It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't mean that like the problem just goes away immediately, but that always is something that kind of like warms my heart a little bit. You can look at this stuff and feel very despondent, depressed. And it's always, I think, really nice to see these communities coming together to try and defend, their neighbors and their community members from these kinds of like assaults.
Vocal clashes between the anti-racism and anti-immigration groups. Police in riot gear were deployed to keep the groups apart, and several officers suffered injuries as violence later broke out.
It was kind of terrifying. Hundreds of people moved up the Hoe Park onto the kind of the promenade and the memorial area. 10 minutes after that, there was a strong.
They are pogroms. They're really not riots.
Anticipating them after they'd set fires and things. And then there was a huge group of rioters outside our front door, kind of smashing things, organising themselves for further mischief. And then 10 minutes after that, it completely.
Nationalists for the United Kingdom and Ireland. How sad is that? How sad and pathetic is that?
There was also unrest in South Belfast. Last night, riot teams were deployed to Sandy Row as a petrol bomb and stones were thrown at police officers. In Birmingham, cars were smashed and a pub was damaged after protesters gathered following false rumours of a planned far-right demonstration. And a hate crime investigation.
And one thing I hate too is that we end up like inevitably kind of like relying on the police to deal with this issue, and the police arrest these protesters, and then it allows the state to kind of wield this violence and say like, okay, look, we arrested these right-wing guys, and obviously we're going to apply the exact same kind of tactics or even worse tactics to Gaza protesters, to stop the oil climate protesters. Like you end up being kind of forced to be like, the cops need to step in and stop this, and then instantly these cops just have more power and legitimacy to go even harder against protests on the left that actually support good things, social justice, anti-racism, the climate, Gaza, whatever it is. Like it's this perpetual kind of Ouroboros there that just like doesn't show any sign of letting up.
Underway in Burnley.
What sparked this lynch mob mobilization? There was a stabbing attack. And a few kids were killed in some stabbing attack by a non-migrant, but because of like the police clammed up and didn't release the name of the suspect, and all kinds of, as in those moments, what happens? All kinds of like right-wing disinformation starts to spread. Oh, it's this migrant, and it just turned into these like organized like fucking gangs going in and trying to do these pogroms basically on businesses owned by migrants, hotels where migrants are staying, mosques, etc. Like it's fucking psycho. Yeah, fucking George Galloway and his ilk are using this to rail against the lack of police resources and police officers. Yeah, I'm sure if you back them on there, then they're going to be in support of all the other things that you are into. Like it's really stupid.
After gravestones in the Muslim section of a cemetery were covered in white paint.
I still think that there is a way to bring this to an end by people coming together as a community in the way that we've seen in the clean-up operations. Now, clearly that strength of community spirit is there, and that's what we call upon to bring this violence to an end.
Meanwhile, in Southport, the community is dealing with the horrors of last week and the disorder that's followed. The family of Leanne Lucas, who was stabbed while leading the children's dance class, have shared their disbelief at what's going on around the country.
It's a horrible tragedy what happened. But it's just been used as an excuse to do racist pogroms.
The best we can. I know we're never going to recover, but at least give us a chance to.
Police say they're working around the clock to identify more people involved in the violent disorder, with more arrests expected in the coming days.
And all these fucking loser morons are all filming themselves doing it. It's like all the January 6th people. They're all like filming themselves doing it. They're uploading it to TikTok and stuff, and they're going to be deeply screwed as a result.
Let's go live to our political correspondent, Harry Farley, who is at Westminster. So
Fascists in my jolly old England.
And the Prime Minister has spoken about holding those responsible both on the streets and online. But I suppose the question is, how can the government do that?
Yeah, that's right, Nikki. Morning to you.
Yeah, mostly it's without the Hugo Boss chic.
I'm very concerned, as you say, about criminal activity online, such as inciting violence, but also separately about the spread of misinformation.
Yeah, Raven, it's really horrible.
And urging social media companies to do more. And in that context, we heard briefly, as you mentioned there, the sort of war of words that's really emerged between the Prime Minister and the CEO of X, Elon Musk, one of the richest men in the world. And Elon Musk highlighted a post by the far-right activist Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, to his 193 million
This fucking loser is off vacationing in Spain while all his friends are doing this shit too.
Elon Musk posted, "Civil war is inevitable in the UK," and the Prime Minister spokesperson we heard from yesterday criticising that comment, saying there
and
was
Elon
no
Musk is like suing advertisers for not advertising on the website. No wonder they don't want to fucking advertise on it, you
criticising the
dumbass.
Prime Minister, who said last night that he would not tolerate attacks on Muslim communities, and in response to that, Elon Musk posted, "Shouldn't you be concerned about attacks on all communities?" So there's that context, I suppose, going around, that spat between the Prime Minister and Elon Musk. We heard from the Justice Minister, Heidi Alexander, this morning, rejecting accusations among some from the protesters, among some rioters, about
Sean, you're being weird.
Essentially, that the police manage protests in different ways depending on which community is protesting. She rejected those allegations when she spoke to us this morning.
Fundamentally, the police will take operational decisions.
I love the arrogance to think you can sue someone into buying ad space on your shitty fascist website.
What I do take issue with, though, is the idea that what we're seeing on our streets at the moment is a protest. It is not. It is outright sheer criminality and violence, and that is why the individuals who are responsible for it need to face the full force of the law.
Meanwhile, J.K. Rowling is crying about genitals from her moldy castle. What is the fucking obsession with people's genitals? God damn it. It blows my mind. Nothing about a new friend Robinson doing programs. That's one thing I gotta say, brief like sojourn. I want the black mold thing to be real, like so bad. I really do. Like, we don't get much, you know? Give us this. Just give us this. If she was being infected by like fungal brain parasites, causing her to be more and more evil as the toxic black mold slowly surrounds her in her disgusting, unclean home, where she sits and just tweets about fucking gender and people's genitals all day. I really want to believe it. I really want to believe it. People were saying it's wallpaper. I don't know. I think it's black mold. I think it's real. I want to believe it's real. No, Sean, it's like it's a mental disease, this obsession with trans stuff, transphobia, honestly. Like, it's, you see like people go down this path too, and it's like they literally tweet about it once or talk about it once, and then you check on the same person 2 years later and it's become their entire personality. Like, it's fucking insane, honestly. Her family has said she hasn't left the house for 10 years. It's mold. God damn. I really want it to be mold, honestly. I really, really do.
Face consequences for the actions that they are choosing to take.
Moldemort. Oh, there we go.
Secretary Peter Kyle met with representatives from X, but also TikTok, Meta and Google yesterday. And following that meeting, he said that he expects platforms to ensure that those seeking to spread hate online are not being facilitated and have no place to hide. And
that's right, old Dutch.
Suppose, looking, as you say, to arrest and sentence those who are participating in violence on the streets, but also urging social media companies to do more to stop the spread of misinformation on their platforms.
And on that point that they want to arrest and put them through the courts, is there enough court time? And we know that prison spaces have been at a low amount available. So are more prison spaces going to be created, Harry?
Well, let's take that second point, first of all, on prisons. As you say, there's been real concern over the last few weeks about the availability of prison space and the capacity within the prison system, with warnings about the prison estate being full. The government's saying this morning that they are creating an extra more than 500 prison places in the coming weeks. Now, that was part of a plan already. It's going to come partly from repurposing cells in Cookham Wood in Kent, but also a new block in Rutland. So those plans were already in place, but they're being sort of accelerated, I suppose, to cope with the arrests that have been made. Keir Starmer says he wants those who have been arrested to stay or to be remanded in custody while they wait for trial. And so far, around 400 people have been arrested, with the National Police Chiefs Council saying that they are expecting more to be arrested in the coming days as police wade through all that footage that we've seen to identify those people perpetrating
this footage that you yourself posted, you stupid morons.
Nikki, well, there's an additional protocol that's been set up so that the courts can sit, magistrates' courts in particular, can sit for longer if they need to. That
over our, they get their law over our country, and it is happening. It's happening in other countries. Everything, it's happening in every country. It's like you've got the Iraqi law that they put down in London. Like, we're more or less near London today, but they're trying to put the Iraqi law down on London. They're just trying to put their law down on us, and we can't stand for that.
Which Iraqi law is this?
It's the Muslimic law. They've got their law. Obviously, it's their law, isn't it? Like, we can't do anything about that, but we're just trying to stop Muslimic. You've got Muslimic rape gangs nowadays. There's 15-year-olds getting raped and everything. It just can't happen. That's why all these people are there. All these people around us, that's why they're there.
Thank you very much.
You killed it, buddy. Great job.
They get there.
And again, like I said, the stuff with the cops becomes really problematic. You know, it's ACAB, obviously, depending on, you know, what country we're talking about. But in Britain, certainly, I think you can hate the cops and not call for more police militarization or more police funding or giving terrorism charges to these groups, which are obviously going to be applied way more to the left. And you can also laugh at clips like this.
Oh, come on.
Right, Chad? I think you can do both. I think you can hate the cops and still laugh at this, personally. A lot of these cops are just probably waiting to get off duty so they can join the fucking rioters. Hog on hog crime. Gammon on gammon is the UK version, I think. I think it gets a little bonk. Just a little bonk.
Come on.
Oh, and you know, I think I saw my friend Jane tweeting about this. Twitter's Jane, who's a wonderful poster. You know who's for sure the part of this is the absolute governor. That guy, the like TikTok like British like influencer guy. I never look when I pour. You know he's out. You know that fucker's out there. You know he's out there at these fucking riots. I never look when I pour, because I'm the absolute governor. That's what he's saying. For sure. You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hello from Japan. Thanks for the great stream. Sign of the horns.
Wheezing Wheeze, thanks for the 3 months. I really appreciate it. Love getting some viewers from Japan. Very, very exciting. Thank you for that. Thank you for the 3 months. Sign of the horns. It makes it sound like more of a big deal than it is. Here's another one of these fucking geniuses.
Important an issue is immigration to you?
Well, I can't get a job. They come to this country and they just get a job just like that.
So when you apply, what do they say to you?
Well, I've got a criminal record. Assault.
Assault?
Yeah.
How long ago?
Well, I've been out of prison now 3 years now.
And so you blame immigrants rather than your criminal record?
Actually, the absolute governor would be a great heel character for a British person in WWE. That's true. The pompous British guy character. The absolute governor. I just asked this AI to define gammon and got this middle-aged white male conservative political views, strong opinions, often expressed in a loud or aggressive manner, flushed or reddened face, similar to the color of gammon meat. Maybe associated with certain fashion items such as hideous trousers. Well, sometimes the technology does work, doesn't it? Oh, these are funny today, too. These are funny as well. Remember when we used to all enjoy these videos before we started sending Nazis weapons in Ukraine? This is how it's... This is me sowing. This is me sowing. And this is me reaping. Whoops. Whoops.
Yeah? You get me? What? Fucking pussy.
Ooh. Ooh. Always appreciate those videos. You deserve it. And listen, we can and should laugh at some of these people, okay? But I also don't want to make light of this, you know? I'm trying to find a balance here where we can kind of laugh at some of these fucking absolute losers, but without taking it lightly. Like, this is a really serious problem. This is a really serious issue, and like I said before, it's not just about the UK. If you've noticed the climate around immigrants and refugees, asylum seekers in Canada for years, there's absolutely an appetite on the part of our most hoggish Canadian reactionaries to do this exact same stuff. So yes, let's laugh at some of these morons, but let's also not be, let's also not take for granted how absolutely dangerous this kind of a situation is, which has been fully supported by right-wing media. It's been fully supported, and not supported, but fueled by right-wing media. Right-wing politicians, liberals haven't stood up to it. In fact, liberals have been spending the last 10 months calling peaceful students and Gaza protesters violent criminals. And the media has, through that, the liberal media, the liberal establishment, not just the right-wing conservative papers, the liberal media establishment has been contributing to this climate by framing like brown anti-genocide protesters as being like Iran-funded, Hamas-supporting terrorist sympathizers. Like, that's the Justin Trudeaus of the world, the Joe Bidens of the world, the Kamala Harrises of the world, they've all been contributing to this kind of climate.
Oh shit, man, they're in.
And this is, like I talked about, hotel burning, tried to burn down a hotel in Canada, 2018. This was August 3rd, so this was a couple days ago. In Hull, hotels with immigrants being attacked, shops being looted, one is on fire, people of color being attacked in the street. Apparently this is a video where someone described as Muslim gets dragged out of his car and attacked, stabbed. So again, you have a liberal media establishment that's been encouraging this, not just rhetorically through their anti-Palestinian racism, but also by overseeing this decline of people's material conditions, which has just fueled the far right. It has absolutely fueled the far right as they've deindustrialized. They deindustrialized Britain. They deindustrialized the United States. They've deindustrialized the entire West. No increase in living standards. Inflation going up. Public spending on education and healthcare and all these things going down. And immigrants become this easy, convenient scapegoat for all these problems that they did not cause. Oh yeah, seriously, no, Old Dutch, that's what I've been trying to say. Like, we're really not far away from this. All it takes is one spark. All it's going to take is one spark, and we're going to get all these fucking wannabe Hitler particle little Canadian reactionaries getting out there in the streets doing this exact same shit. Middlesbrough, this was August 4th. Middlesbrough asking if the drivers are white to let them through. If not, they're going nowhere. 2 days ago.
Yo. Big Jake right there, big Jakey boy.
And we have to talk about the absolute absurdity of the British colonizing the entire world and then freaking the fuck out over immigrants like this.
Hey, want to say alright to the TikTok or what? Get up. Are you white? Are you white? That's mental. That is mental.
Crazy.
Look, can't do shit. Can't do nothing.
Uniform moved into uniform roles to backfill for other officers who will be involved in the disorder.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
But I think overall we coordinate this well under mutual aid, and we will have enough resources to.
And this is why I think, like, community defense, which is often being like organized by anarchists, is so important. And we've talked about anarchism before in this stream. I think you know how I feel about anarchism as a kind of ideology, especially when it comes to foreign policy, where you have a lot of anarchists who, like, usually end up through their kind of like, I think, somewhat incoherent views, supporting imperialism around the world, but like nothing but respect for the anarchists in any of these communities that come together and organize these kinds of community defense organizations, anti-fascist marches, and this kind of stuff. Nothing but respect for our anarchist friends who engage in that. We can talk about our differences with foreign policy and this whole like universal ACAB stance, which sometimes upholds the Western hegemony and supports imperialism. I don't agree with that, but nothing but respect for the anarchists in these communities that are out there fighting for their community defense, protecting immigrants. Huge amount of respect for the people that engage in that kind of work.
In the rank as Inspector. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. You are watching Sky News as we bring you live pictures from Rotherham as protests and rioters target police.
Anarchists in the streets are good. Anarchists online are garbage. I think that's a pretty good way. Or anarchists like the fucking Bellingcat guys who like use this kind of anarchist credibility to run a news organization which runs cover for the Western security state.
A week ago in Southport with those horrific killings of 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift party.
And it is a horrible tragedy that kicked this all off. It absolutely is. Let's see, I gotta... There's a thread here. I'm just going to link the thread rather than reading this entire thread. I'll link this thread in the chat that has more info about these pogroms. But it's just, like I said, and I do think we can and should make fun of these people, like I mentioned, but it's really ominous. I think if you're living in any kind of Western country right now, you should be looking at that with an sense of extreme impending dread. It's leading to more powers for police, more powers to charge rioters with terrorism, which is going to be applied, as it always is, to people on the left, even more climate protesters and pro-Palestine protesters, etc. So it's just an extremely dangerous situation all around. And right now the UK is the flashpoint, but as the years go on, and this is linked to the climate struggle as well, as climate breakdown continues to happen, ecological breakdown, more migrant caravans, more border fascism, more local pogroms. This is where we're going, and it has to stop. That's why we have to call out forcefully when administrations like the Joe Biden administration and the Democratic Party in the US promote policies which make this problem worse. It just continues making it worse and contributes to this climate. It's sick. Even in that famous now debate with Trump and Biden, when there was a chance to talk about abortion, Biden somehow pivoted to like violent immigrants. Like that was, they've been trying to get to Trump's right on this issue. And they're contributing to this exact kind of climate. Whoops. Sorry about that. I went back to the home screen. Folks, I've got to get going. Thank you, chat, for tuning in. I'm not totally sure whether I'm going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to have to be a game time decision. I will be here, though. What's the day today? I will be here Thursday and Friday. Should be here all next week as well. But thank you once again, chat, for tuning into this program. I appreciate it a lot. I had a good time hanging out with everyone today.
You can count on me. You're gonna have
and
good old
we laughed a little bit. We got a little bit more serious today, which I was wanting to do because the last stream was really not like that at all. Ross Publica, thanks for the 23 months of Tier 1. Appreciate that. 1 month away from the 24-month, 2-year sub badge for Ross Publica. Thank you, Ross Publica. So, yeah, once again, if you've just tuned into the stream for the first time, if you're not a really regular chatter, you're more of a lurker, I do this stream not each and every day right now, because we're still on kind of island time. It's the summer hours. It's a little more erratic, but I do try to do this show 5 times per week, 12 Eastern to around 3 or 4 Eastern Standard Time. So that's when I do it. So please, if you're just lurking, if you just got brought here by the algorithm, if you're not a regular viewer or chatter, please smash the follow button. I will be back very soon. If not tomorrow, then the next day for more commentary, more analysis, more laughs, and all the stuff that you've come to know and love from your favorite stream, TRRS. What's that? I don't want that. What's that sound? You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Weenus, thank you for the gifted sub. Very kind of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks again, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back soon, okay? The raid message is, of course, you've been robbed with the Rob knife emote. That's the raid message. Let's see it in the chat right now. Let's get it warmed up here, okay? You've been robbed with the Rob knife emote. I want to see lots of Rob knives. Let's really threaten this streamer with me wielding a knife in a terrifying, disturbing way. That's how we say thank you around here, around these parts. Thank you, catalepsy. That looks good. That's a good way of going about it. Thank you, chat. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
You know, so many fast food restaurants are called different